Well done.
Get the coffee out of there.
Yeah. Did we run? Okay, cool. Okay. As we look ahead to 2026, we have one big question each for Brandon Hagel and Anthony Cirelli heading into the new season, plus an early look at the Tampa Bay Lightning's 2026 EA Sports ratings. That's on today's Locked On Lightning.
You're Locked On Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Lightning your first listen of the day. Every single day, we are your free daily Tampa Bay Lightning podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we want to begin by shouting out the everydayers, all of you who join every single show, every single week. We love you guys. We appreciate the support you give us week in and week out. I'm Nick Morgan, and I am joined, as always, by the English teacher to my gym teacher, Greg Steven. Greg, are you joining the rest of the world in your excitement for Andrei Vasilevsky's number one fan, Scott Swift, his daughter, Taylor, and that one guy who is the 8th best tight end in the NFL right now? Do you join everyone's excitement in all this?
I am excited that we are one day closer to the NHL season, and that's all I care about.
Yeah. Hey, maybe you're also excited for the release of NHL 26 coming up down the pipeline, because we have our first look at some of the Lightning overall player ratings. We're going to be talking about that. Are they a little bit overrated? Are they a little bit underrated? Well, one surprise already from the list of Lightning players we've seen. We're going to talk about that on today's show. First, though, do want to mention today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season right around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and then start planning your futures bet now. All right, Greg, we are picking up where we left off on our player previews. And Now that we're transitioned away from all the first line players, I think it's time to maybe tweak things a little bit. And we're going to be doing, moving forward, one big question mark for everybody else on the Lightning roster heading into next season. And now on today's show, we're going to start with Brandon Hagel. Now, this was a guy by far breakout candidate last year, best season of his career. You saw him kind of transition from just feisty, above average, maybe middle six guy into a dynamic scoring threat, was on the Canada Four Nations roster, a big part, now starting to get recognized across the NHL as a top winger. Greg, what is one question you have for Brandon Hagel heading into 2026?
I want to toss in one more category that he excelled at this past season, and that was the penalty kill at an underlooked special teams that is critical to success in the NHL. And he is a key part of that for the Lightning, right? My biggest question for Hagel is, can he reduce the amount of time he spends in the penalty box? He had second most penalized minutes on the Lightning, only led by Lilleberg. And, you know, I'd like to see that time come down. I think he had 58 minutes. I don't know if you have the stats in front of you. I'm pulling that from the memory. I'm pretty sure he had 58 minutes in the regular season. And that's just a little too high for me. I'd like to bring that down. He's a feisty guy. Love that about him. Don't want him to get rid of any emotion in his game. I just simply want there to be a little more control to the discipline. That's all.
Yeah, 58, and I think only 2 official fights last year, so a lot of stick penalties and stuff like that. I mean, that's a good point, and you kind of brought up something that I, wanted to hit on with somebody we're going to be talking about in our next segment, which is Anthony Cirelli, and those two together, you almost get like a sense that the Lightning can create kind of a power kill vibe. If everybody knows that term, it's basically the concept of just kind of loading up some of your best players on the penalty kill And then, as opportunities arise, let them just kind of go for it. Maybe let them try to set something up, maybe get some offense going, a good breakout the other way. The Lightning had the personnel to do that because Hagel and Cirelli were kind of the Lightning's top penalty killers as the season went on. It's a good point. And I think if Hagel is on the ice in penalty killing situations, that's a really good opportunity for Tampa Bay to maybe try to turn some of those shorthanded opportunities into maybe an unexpected scoring chance the other way.
Yeah. I think the Lightning were at least top 5 in shorties this past season, and I'm pretty sure they combined for like 10 or 12 shorties, which is just pretty high. I mean, most teams don't even score on their penalty kill, right? So to have these guys scoring every couple of games on the PK is pretty nuts. And it's such a great tool, like you said, that power kill kind of vibe. Like, you don't know, they can get just a burst of speed and all of a sudden it's in the back of your net. Those two guys are so fast. They know where to put their stick to cover up the lanes. They're just great on the forecheck too when they need to be. It's just everything about their defensive game is just remarkable.
Yeah, Brandon Hagel already tied for 5th for tied for 10th in the Lightning all time with 10 or 5. 5 and 10 are hard numbers today, but tied for 10th all time on the Lightning roster with 5 career shorthanded goals. Anthony Cirelli, by the way, 11 away from passing Martin St. Louis' all-time record. He's got 17 career shorthanded goals, all with the Lightning. Martin St. Louis has the Lightning record with 28. My one big question for Brandon Hagel, and this is kind of low-hanging fruit, but I think it's something that's going to be a big factor in the Lightning season this year, is just, can he do what he's done the past 2 years again?
Right.
That's sort of the unfair question coming in for Brandon Hagel, because, when he came over, his first full season was the best offense he's ever had. 30 goals, 34 points. And everybody's like, okay, like, we can certainly roll with this. Like, this was a nice little acquisition from the Blackhawks. Got some unexpected success. Maybe he's going to be more of a long-term piece than we thought, and not just kind of a Tanner Jeannot 2.0.
Right.
And then we get to the next year, and he does even better, 75 points. And we're like, okay, I don't know if this is just kind of a short-term thing or if we're rolling with this. And then we get to last year, 35 goals, 55 assists, 90 points, plus 33, by far the best year of his career. And not only that, he gets named to Canada's Four Nations team, meaning he's one of the 14 best forwards that come from Canada. And I don't know if you guys follow hockey, but there's a lot of Canadian forwards that play in the NHL. But I also think there's sort of a question mark where a lot of people are just kind of asking, like, is this really Brandon Hagel, or is this just kind of a, sick heater that he's on and he's going to fall to earth the next couple of years? And when I say fall to earth, I mean, like, maybe he's 55 to 60 point range. Like, maybe that's his game. It's an unfair question, but I think it's one that this year is going to answer. If Brandon Hagel can be exactly what he was last year, get to 90 points, even if he's like 80, 85, I think we have our answer about what he is going to be in the NHL long term.
Yeah, and this is a huge season for him, just like you said. And it's a matter of, can you continue to rise? Can you stay consistent, or will you regress a little bit? And I think if at worst, like, he'll regress like just a tiny bit. I don't see him putting up less than 60 points. I think he'll land somewhere in like 80 to 100 range personally. Especially given, he's still such a young guy, and he is only still developing into the guy he's going to be, right? I think, he still has a few more years before he's really at his peak. So I don't know. I think he'll stay consistent or be better, which is awesome to say.
I'll ask this for you and get your take on this too. But, you have a player like Brandon Hagel who comes up, who's getting better every year at this age, and everybody's like, oh, he's going to be a superstar. Next year is going to be even bigger for him. You talk around the league about Brandon Hagel, and it's kind of like, well, he's kind of an anomaly. Like, that's not the kind of game he is. It's a big question mark as whether he's going to do this again. Why do you think that is for Hagel and not necessarily maybe some other players in the league?
It's hard to say. I mean, maybe that they just feel he's overshadowed or helped out by the rest of the roster and the Lightning. It could be that, they just think he gets a little bit of a boost that a lot of other guys don't. Hard to say, but you know what? It doesn't matter because he is going to be great.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is maybe his style of play, and maybe his background. Maybe because he's not like a top 10 pick, first round pick, whatever.
Right.
But either way, I think another big year for Brandon Hagel this year is going to be right around the corner.
Definitely.
Hey, moving on to Anthony Cirelli. Speaking of the other half of that very improved Lightning penalty kill last season, what's going to be the expectation for Anthony Cirelli next year? And one big question we have for him entering the season, all coming up in just 1 second. Want to mention today's episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Most people can't name all of their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface, either on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives, so if you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does all the heavy lifting. You can link your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever having to touch a spreadsheet. I use Monarch Money. I put all my accounts in. Based on the spending, I was able to create an awesome little monthly budget. I'm saving a lot of money now. I have a wedding and honeymoon coming up, so, got to have some money stored away from that. And more importantly, I can see my investments for my 401k. I can see my savings rate, and I can make sure that I'm getting the full picture and putting every dollar to use with Monarch Money. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. Again, that's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNHL. Welcome back to Locked On Lightning. Hey, folks, we have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've been putting together a survey to learn more about our listeners and what makes your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. If you're watching on YouTube, you can see that link on your screen. Everybody who completes the survey will be entered for a chance to win a $100 Amazon gift card. Again, lockedonpodcast.survey. You can see it on your screen if you're watching on YouTube. You can also find the link in our show notes. Guys, we appreciate you helping us out, and we want to make Locked On Lightning better for all of you. All right, Greg, we are talking about Anthony Cirelli and a big question you have for him going into 2026. Greg, let's hear it. What's your question for Cirelli next year?
I think for me, it's just staying healthy. He does seem to get a lot of nagging injuries, and he tends to play through them. I'm giving him a ton of credit. It's not like he's not out there. He's always out there. But he does seem to acquire some injuries. So I am nervous about his future as he ages, especially as a guy who plays such a defensive game. Like, you're always getting in those like nitty-gritty areas, right? And he takes a lot of damage. So hoping he just stays healthy. I think that's my biggest question mark. I don't think he's at a point where he's going to get like insanely better. Like, I think he's 29. So, I think his game is, arguably at where it's going to be, which is fantastic. I think he'll continue to be a defensive stalwart. I think he'll continue to be a penalty killer. And yeah, he's like a big reason the Lightning even have such a strong engine, right?
Yeah. You mentioned him. He missed the start of 2023 because of off-season surgery. He missed the next year for a little bit of recovery as well. And then how many games did he miss this year? Did he miss any?
He missed if he didn't miss them, he was playing injured in the postseason. He was hurt in the postseason a little bit too, right?
Yeah, he actually did get injured in the postseason as well.
Yeah.
I think game 1 or something like that. He took
Right.
it. But yeah, no, I'm with you there. It is interesting that he's been able to battle through. And last year, I didn't realize this. Last year was his career best year.
Yeah.
59 points, which is his previous career high was 45. So it's interesting to see him kind of get maybe taking his offensive game to the next level. You wonder if that's maybe the result of him consistently playing a higher role now that Stamkos is gone. But yeah, he's done good at sort of being that guy anchoring the second line. And yeah, like we mentioned in the last break, 4 shorthanded goals. He's certainly, I think, somebody that can kind of hurt you in a lot of different areas.
Yeah, and I think, you know what? I think he actually gets a boost from Hagel, which is funny because, you're just talking about how people say, why does Hagel look so good? But he's making Cirelli look even better, right? Like they're both together, they're awesome. And I think Cirelli got like that offensive points boost because of Hagel. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I think Hagel got a lot from that power play. And
Right.
Cirelli is, he spent some time on that first unit. He's kind of anchoring the second unit. Yeah, I mean, he's a guy that I think there's even more for the tank in him this year, depending on how the Lightning use him and what situations. My big question, Greg, has to do with the Olympics. The question I have for Cirelli is, are we going to see him on Team Canada's roster? He's projected to. As some of the early projections kind of have him on there, maybe as like the sort of the last man in, or one of the last man in. But he was on the Four Nations team, but Canada is also a very different beast. You have some young guys really coming up, like Jarvis, Macklin, Celebrini, Carter Verhaeghe, who was not on the Four Nations roster, that I think that's a guy that, could also be in the mix for a spot. Canada is going to be super competitive. I would love to see Anthony Cirelli make that roster. Tell me if I'm wrong, Greg. I think maybe the first couple months of the season or first couple of weeks, how he plays, if he can get off to a hot start, might be the thing that kind of either cements his spot or maybe opens the door for some other players.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. My next question though would be: is Coop coaching Canada? Do we know who the coach is yet? Because I'm not even sure if they announced that stuff yet. But assuming Coop is the coach, I think he has a much better chance.
Yeah, John Cooper is going to be the head coach. Pete DeBoer, Bruce Cassidy, and Rick Tocchet are going to be the assistants.
Yeah, I think that just having Coop as the coach alone gives him a pretty good shot, especially because, the world knows that Coop knows how to manage his play, right? Like, so I think he's going to make it. I do. I almost think it doesn't matter how he plays, unless he gets like seriously hurt or looks absolutely terrible in the beginning of the season. Like, I just don't see why he wouldn't be on the team.
Yeah, I agree with that. What's your thoughts on Cirelli's game going into next year as well? Because this was a guy that, as we mentioned, career high last year. Do you mentioned that you kind of think maybe he is where he's at. Do we see, any sort of room for maybe he's got like kind of one last big push to reach his ceiling? Do we think there's more in the tank? Can he maybe become a consistent 60 to 70 point guy?
I don't think so. And I don't even think it's that he doesn't have the talent to do it. I think that his role is just way more defensive minded, and it's just not something he cares about or the Lightning care about for him to do. I think they just want him to be a lockdown guy, and he does that at an elite level. I think that the point total that they get from him is just such like a gift. I think if he put up 40 points and still did what he does defensively, he'd be still excellent, So he's just fantastic right now with how many points he's getting. And again, I really think that's a Hagel thing. I think they have like this weird mutual benefit where one of them gives the other offense and the other one gives him back defense, right? And they've kind of like developed each other by playing with each other and in all these different situations. So yeah, I'm super hyped. I think actually as a pair, they could get a little bit better together. But yeah, we'll see. I think they're going to play about the same this season.
Yeah, Anthony Cirelli has been an amazing specialty. But I don't think when you say like lockdown center, I'm thinking like third line. Like the guy that comes to mind is like Gregory Campbell from back in the day. I'm trying to think of like another old school one, like Brendan Morrow, maybe. That's kind of what I think of. I think Cirelli's a little bit more than that. I think he's just kind of a perfect middle six guy. Like he does have the lockdown skills. He's a really good defensive forward, but I also think he does have the offensive skills to be a big contributor. And if he can do what he did last year, which is stay right around that 60-point mark, even if it's, 50 to 60, assuming your big guns are still doing what they're doing, that's still great depth for the roster. And I think a very important part. And hey, we've seen some NHL teams leading scorers be like 65 points. I'm looking at you, Nashville. So for Anthony Cirelli to come in and add 60 points from a second line role, I think that's big for the team. I think it's exactly what he needs to be. But I think he's much more than just kind of a lockdown center.
That's totally fair. I don't think it's that he can't be something else. I just think that he chooses, and the Lightning choose to have him fill a more defensive-minded role. That's all.
Yeah. Speaking of Anthony Cirelli, what do you think his NHL 26 rating would be?
Ooh, good question. I actually saw a few of these, so I don't want to.
Yeah, well, don't spoil
I didn't see.
next segment.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Anthony Cirelli was actually not one mentioned, but we also do have some other Lightning players who have their ratings. I'm going to say one big surprise in what I saw so far. We'll get to that coming up in just 1 second. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL season almost here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. If you're feeling a player prop, put some money down. If you want to build a same game parlay, go ahead. Or even if you jump into action as the game unfolds, like if the Lightning go up 2-0 and you want to just add a bet in here or there, yeah, it has a lot of in-game bets, and the odds change as the game goes on, so you can live bet. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup, and it's quick, easy, and adds a little bit more energies to your game days. So, you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. Again, FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, Greg, it is time to talk NHL 26 ratings. That's right. It's Chell season, baby. We have on the NHL's Instagram yesterday, they started putting out the first batch of player ratings for NHL. We have ratings for defensemen. We have ratings for left wingers and right wingers. And we have 4 Lightning players in that mix. Let's start off on defense. That was the first one that came out. We have one Mr. Victor Hedman, a 92 overall, which is tied for third with Zach Werenski, Roman Josi, and Victor Hedman for the highest rated defender in the game. Only players he's behind are Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes. That tracks, right? That's fair for him.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, is he as good as the OC? I don't know. I think they're close.
Wait, is Hedman better than Josi?
I don't know. I would maybe argue that Josi has a slight edge on Hedman at this point in his career.
I would say maybe offensively. I strongly disagree defensively.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, so that's defense. They didn't have any right defensemen ranked in the top 10. They only released their top 10. I will say,
got you.
I will say though, I'm not going to be surprised if we do this again next year if JJ Moser is not on that top 10.
Oh, okay.
That's my bold prediction for the
I'm
year.
gonna jot that down in my notebook so that I remember this.
Yeah, I'm on the band of JJ Moser breakout season.
Nice. Let's go.
Let's move on to the top 10 left wingers, and here's where I think it maybe gets a little bit spicy. In seventh, actually tied for sixth at 90 overall. Do you want to guess which Lightning player would you say is
tied for 690
tied
overall?
for Alex Ovechkin at 90 overall?
The Cooch has to be 95 plus. I'm gonna go with Gensel.
It's Brandon Hagel.
Oh wow, okay.
Brandon Hagel, 90 overall, tied with Alexander Ovechkin. Right behind him, tied for eighth at 89 overall, is Jake Gensel.
Whoa.
Reactions on that, because that was the one that surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know that I'd put Hagel above Gensel. I don't know, maybe. I guess. It's hard to say. They're so different. But it's hard. Yeah, they're probably about equal, really. Yeah, it's close. It's hard to say.
Yeah, I don't know. But my thing for me is I don't know if I'd put Hagel alongside Ovechkin.
Well, Ovechkin's 41, so
fair. But I mean, like, are we expecting Sidney Crosby to be that low when the center ratings come out next?
No, but Sid to me does more for his team than Ovechkin right now.
Oh,
yeah, production wise.
I don't
Sid
know.
looks like he's 30 out there.
Yeah,
let me tell you.
Yeah, but he's playing on a team that's nothing. I don't know. I still think they're comparable in terms of what they offer. They offer very different things to their team.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe where like the nitpick comes in handy a little bit, but no, I'd say you'd have to at least have Ovechkin.
So wait, Ovechkin's a 90, right?
Ovechkin's a 90. Can you guess the 5 left wingers rated ahead of Alexander Ovechkin? I would say 4 are obvious. 1, I think you're gonna go like, what the hell?
All right. None of them are bolts.
None of them are bolts.
Is Kaprizov on the left?
Kaprizov is the number 1 rated left wing with 94.
That's it? Wow, okay. He's
Yeah.
the highest at 94.
Yeah. And
wow.
Rated 93, I think, is an obvious one.
Who?
Matthew Tkachuk.
Okay.
92 overall. We actually have a tie, 92 overall. It's Artemi Panarin and Kyle Connor, which don't disagree strongly with either of those. And then at 5th, 91 overall, Jesper Bratt.
What?
That's okay. I told you that's the one that's going to make you go, what the hell?
That is very interesting. I don't even know what kind of point production. He had a pretty good season, if I recall. I think he had like 80 points or so.
The only thing I can tell you confidently about Jesper Bratt's game is that there's that Twitter account that's like the Bratt pack with like a poorly drawn guy.
Interesting. I have not seen that.
Yeah. Interesting. And then you mentioned this earlier. Nikita Kucherov, number 1, leads the top 10 right wings.
97.
Close. 96.
96. Okay.
96. So he is the highest rated player announced so far in this game.
Yeah. I don't see that changing. What do they have McKinnon at? Or they don't have...
They don't. So they haven't done goalies and they haven't done centers.
Oh, okay. Got you.
I would say
so. Is like Nietzsche's on any of these right now?
I think Nietzsche's is a center. I would say, right?
Oh, I thought he was playing wing for McKinnon. Maybe I'm wrong.
Was he? He was. Was he? He was.
Maybe I'm thinking of their. I might be thinking of their power play.
I don't know. But no Marty Nietzsche's yet. The other right wingers. David Pastrnak 94, Mikko Rantanen 93, Sam Reinhart 93, Nylander 92, Marner 92, Clayton Keller 90, Lucas Raymond 89, Carl Marchenko 89, and then Mark Stone 89.
Wow. They have Marchenko ahead of Stone. That's interesting. I feel like Stone is,
similar ratings, but Marchenko 9,
for sure.
Stone's 10.
Yeah, Pasta obviously rightfully in his spot.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree with that. Also,
no, those rankings sound pretty good, honestly. Like I feel like they're not bad at all.
Yeah. I would assume goaltending and centers are going to come out here in the next day or so. If you had to guess, just give me a first gut reaction. Where do you think? Let's say Braden Point, because I think he's guaranteed to be in the top 10 somewhere. Give me a Braden Point rating, and then give me an Andrei Vasilevsky rating.
Braden Point rating, I'm gonna say they give him like a 90. That's my guess.
I was going to go 89.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say 91, but I think he's gonna get a little scammed, so I'm going with 90. And then Vasi, I think they will also put like around that area, like 90, like 91, maybe 92. I don't know how the world views him. I still view him as a top 3 goalie, but
Yeah.
I could see why others might have other goalies a little like around that area and could like contest that he's not top 3. But that's why I'm gonna say like 90, 92.
I would say he gets like the Victor Hedman treatment and gets the 92, where you're going to have like Igor Shesterkin or Connor Hellebuyck as like 96 or something like that. And then he's in like the next tier right underneath that.
Yep. I think Otter will be up there and some of those goalies too. So.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Hey, before we go, it's another big moment for Locked On college football fans. Locked On Fire TV present College Football Kickoff, your ultimate college football weekly preview. Drake Toll of Locked On Big 12 leads the conversation alongside two-time AP Coach of the Year Gary Patterson, former College star Jesse Holley, and Locked On's local experts. It's a new college football preview only Locked On can do. Catch College Football Kickoff every Thursday throughout the season, only on Fire TV. That's going to do it for us on today's Locked On Lightning. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day. We will be back this Friday with an all-new episode. We'll see you then.